So he will do 7.
Oh, then okay, 7 and you want to do the 2 health stories then, 5 and 6.
And he will do that after I do 8.
Whatever you want to do, but make sure we do 7.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
After I do 1 and 3, he does 7. Then I do 8. Then he does 5 and 6.
Entirely up to you guys.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
All right. How did you hear that?
I'm good.
So Cheta will do 1 and 3 combined first. Then Waji does 7.
Then
Then
Cheta does 8.
8. Then Waji does 5 and 6.
6.
Okay.
Then Cheta does 2.
Okay.
I don't remember, but prompt me.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. I will.
Yeah, he was not a very bright student either. I said you will
Finish
do
with
this
better grades than
so that you know that I said this.
Union Bank. Your
Oh,
simple,
good Lord
smarter
have
bank.
mercy.
Today's live. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. That's for Freshly Pressed 981. As you've joined, please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done that. Type Smooth FM Lagos in the search box, find us and subscribe and watch, because we're live now for Freshly Pressed 981. You can also send messages through WhatsApp 0809-444-0981.
Also, you can, so that's a WhatsApp number. You can send your messages to that platform. We keep forgetting that we now have a restricted to 2 main platforms. That would never get old.
By what law?
All right, we have
Let's-
Cheta.
Yes, we have Cheta in the studio. Morning, Cheta. Thanks for introducing
You
yourself.
said you were restricted. By what law?
By the law of the
There
Senate.
is no law.
Please, Cheta, say good morning to the people.
Okay, good morning.
You're
Hey.
welcome. That's very good. Morning, Waji. How are you today?
Morning, Aya. Morning, Valentine. Good to see both of you back in the studios. And good morning, Lagos.
After such a long time, thank you
Yeah,
so much.
over 1 year. Thank you. And I love you're representing Mr. Nigeria today.
Oh, yes,
People need to see
absolutely.
that. If you want to see Waji kitted in the Nigerian jersey, that's so lovely. Okay,
Why are people
so
still supporting Papa Eagles?
all right, let's move on to our first story for today. It's going to, obviously, you can tell it's going to be a very interesting show. I'm starting with you, Cheta. DSS declares Sunday Igboho, whose real name is Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, declares him and 12 others wanted. When they went into his house to raid because of a tip-off that he had ammunition, intelligence that he had stockpiled arms in his place. They also recovered guns, charms, and others. It's been listed in this article in the New Telegraph.
Assorted charms.
Assorted charms. Please take us through this story from the New Telegraph. By the way, let me also bring this as well, because they're both on. Well, the second is on the security issue, and I know that you want to tie both together. And that is in this day newspaper. Bandits collect 20 million naira ransom. Refuse to release abducted Niger schoolgirls. Please take us through the stories, Cheta.
Yeah, so let's start with Sunday Igboho. I mean, most of us woke up yesterday to this pre-dawn read, something out of the Nollywood/Hollywood, and apparently they took his wife away, because that was one of the things that Sunday Igboho alleged when he spoke to BBC Pidgin. I think it's important for me to point out that this is not the first time that the highest authorities in the land are declaring Sunday Igboho wanted. He was declared wanted in 2007, the day after his brother Taufik was killed. And well, the rest is history. This is, sorry, I didn't pass maths in school. This is how many years after 2007. Now, after the raid, because the raid was all done, blah, 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 there was a lot of noise about it. We saw a video emerged. The video was published in various newspapers, their online platforms. And of course, I watched it. There was this, I think the thing that struck me was this trail of blood, essentially where bodies were dragged. And I was like, that is the army that did this, because the army has this habit or this thing that they've been accused of so many times, that when they shoot people, they take away some of the bodies. But I saw various, most notably starting with a chap called Kayode Ogundamisi, the former OPC Secretary General, who came online and basically implied that it wasn't the security services, that it was French-speaking people who that the attacker spoke French. But by late evening, the secret police took responsibility. Mr. Funaya's statements basically took responsibility for it. For me, what is worrying is that they did this raid without giving evidence that there was a warrant. And I'm always worried about these breaches of due process. You consider the guy a bad guy, oh, all well and good, but do the right thing. Get a warrant. You don't just go about breaking people's doors in the middle of the night. Are we in a dictatorship? Yes, you can't tweet. The timing of the attack is questionable, given that Sunday Igboho had scheduled a rally tomorrow in Lagos here. Now the rally, at least according to him, it has been cancelled. And from what I have heard from various sources, it, part of the condition, as in his wife was taken away so that he would cancel the rally. Well, whether his wife will be released next tomorrow, we will know.
But that I just want to mention that's from his interview. It's not mentioned in this.
It's not mentioned in this. It's from him.
Like that
Yeah, they
can come
didn't.
up
I mean, we New Telegraph did. I don't think that they did a very good story.
Yeah.
They didn't. They just. It's clear, and I completely understand. Most media houses, there's this rush to be the first to break
Yes,
the
to
story
break the
because they
story.
want traffic and all of that, because traffic leads to Google clicks and all of that stuff. So I get. But so basically, because I followed this story, because at the end of the day, as someone who does risk analysis, we, as of this morning, we had to present a risk analysis to clients. So I had to read up this story from various sources. So Sunday Boho said in his own words, implied that his wife was taken to in order to stop tomorrow's rally. He has said that they are not doing the rally again. Another group associated with him said that they are going ahead. The police have said that they are.
What's this rally about?
It's a Oduduwa Nation rally. To basically they are pushing for secession of the Yoruba people from Nigeria.
Okay.
Now, I think that the demand for secession among the Yoruba people is still a fringe thing. But and this is where we are now entering into the territory of the next story, which
Yeah.
is the
The
bandits in Niger states. This kind of thing is basically, you have a scenario where these bandits have done what they've done. They've collected money, 20 million naira. They are insisting on, I think it's 150 million naira from very poor parents who, the fact that they've managed to raise 20 million naira is a feat. Because, I mean, all of us in this room now, we think that we are stable members of society, but we cannot just drop 20 million naira like that. None of us can, just like that. These poor parents have managed to raise it, but the bandits are insisting. And we are not seeing raids by the DSS on their hideouts or whatever, despite the fact that, so as an example, in Zamfara a few days ago, a bandit was caught on camera. It was reported in Punch, it was reported in Tribune, it was reported in Sahara Reporters, was caught on camera boasting that he had killed soldiers, and there were police people in the crowd. So this is something that needs to be talked about. Basically, the differential in treatments that people get, that criminals get, depending on what part of country of the country they are from, under this government. Because what it does, this differential treatment, and by the way, because you have to tie Igboho, Nnamdi Kanu, Buhari Ndeji, the Kagara guy, Awal. I didn't bother to remember his name. His first name was Awal. You have to tie the differentials in the treatment they are getting. And then, in terms of perception, look at how, as an example, when the Attorney General was announcing the Nnamdi Kanu arrest, he broke into Hausa. Perception is greater than reality. And whether they like it or not, this government is giving a perception that it is favored towards people of the north. There will be reactions. So, another thing for me to add to it is the fact that the Nigerian state always gives the impression that it only respects you when you bring overwhelming force to bear. Tompolo. It was on this very program 6 years ago when they declared Tompolo wanted and they went after him. I was sitting where Ayo is sitting now. Ugodre was sitting where Waji is sitting. Ireti was sitting where I am sitting. And it was Folu that was on where Valentine was sitting. And I said it was a bad idea to go after Tompolo. And everybody in the studio said, oh, keep quiet. This. Tom Polo recently had no less a personality than the minister of the Niger Delta go to visit him to beg. Because they proved that they can hold the government of the country by the balls and squeeze. And that is a problem that we have in this country. You give the impression that violence people are the people that you talk to. Then people who, yes, I mean, you cannot, the rhetoric from Nnamdi Kanu, for example, is very bad.
Yes.
But you go after those ones with a lot of force, overwhelming force, while those who have proven that they are real bad guys, you call them to the table. What do you think other people watching will do? The next
That's a good
Igboho, the
question.
next Nnamdi Kanu will look for ways to bring overwhelming force to the party. It's the logical conclusion of what's of this.
Thank you so very much. Detailed analysis. I just want to mention that I know that you've made a point about the perception of this government as to favor a certain part of the nation. It's also important to know that the government has come out a number of times to deny this perception
At the
from
end of
many
the
people.
day, your
Just-
perception
yes,
is greater than
absolutely.
reality.
I know. I just wanted to bring, because they're not here to defend themselves, so I have to speak for what they have said.
I was very careful in the language I used. I used perception. I didn't
Yes,
accuse them
absolutely.
of. So,
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Abayomele Karakuri says, good morning, crew. Waking up to the news of that Nigeria now has another fugitive that thought he was untouchable. It feels good to see the fall of those heating up the polity. For the rest of them, still free. Your time is coming, as no one eats his cake and has it again. I pray for peace and tranquility in our land as we journey to greatness in the Community of Nations. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Abayami. We also have from Samuel saying, from Lekki, saying the government hides behind, in quotes, intelligence report to attack homes of Nigerians. As for display of weapons and charms, how do we know they were not just staged?
Thank you so much for your messages. Please keep sending them to WhatsApp 0809 444 0981. Waji, good to have you in the studio again. Premium Times has this story I'd like you to touch on. The famous Ikoyi registry on Afred Rewane has come up in the news. So there was an undercover, this is an undercover report exposing there's this word I'm looking for. It's, what do you call, it's not a gang, what do you call a syndicate? Exposing the syndicate and how they collect money. There's talks of offering, there's talks of, we know it's the second most coveted document apart from the passports, the marriage certificate in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on this story? The headline reads, investigation, how corrupt officials make millions daily at Nigeria's prominent marriage registry.
All right, first of all, credit to the undercover journalist that went and got this expose, Taiwo Adebulu. And the writing of this is absolutely masterful and well succinctly written and just, detailed with all the specific and facts that you need. And it is more than enough for the Ministry of Interior to conduct investigations into these registries to now begin to find out if indeed these things are true. What you now begin to find in this article that's being written, and I encourage everybody to please go and read this article that is in Premium Times. What you now find out is the institutionalization of corruption in Nigeria and how that has now become normalized to a point where even when you introduce automated systems to bypass any kind of manual process to allow for a seamless, payment or seamless application system or whatever the case may be, you still have corruption at the back end of it. Because what you're now hearing within this particular article is that even when people decide to go onto the platforms that have been designed by the previous minister, this is the gentleman, I can't remember his name before, Arek Bashola, had put in this particular system, you're still finding at the registry that they're demanding for payments here, payments there. You find the most absurd things of you have to bless the altar, you pay a particular amount of money. You have to pay the photographer for the day, even though you have your own particular photographer.
You have to pay for the gown, wedding gown.
You have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. And, when you now begin to total what an individual can spend just to get a particular marriage license, you're looking at upward of 75 to 100,000 naira per person when you now begin to tally up those fees. And based on the current exchange rate, you're looking at somewhere between maybe $100 to $70, $200. Okay. Now, I got married in the United Kingdom, and that's where I got my marriage license. This was quite some time ago, but still, I remember that the total fees that I paid was £60. which is still less than this here. Okay, and that was all
Even with
done
the falling exchange rate.
Yeah.
even with the foreign. I used the foreign exchange rate today exactly. Okay.
Hey.
So that's about 42,000 naira.
Yes, there you go. So that's where I'm trying to get to psychologically with regards to, and when you now look at the fee that you're actually meant to pay, it's 15,000 naira. Because if you go on the website, that's the actual fee that you're meant to pay. But when you now have all these levies and on hidden taxes and all these different things, and these things are true. They're not somebody just coming up with fairy tales about these things.
You see the crowds there every morning.
No, but it's not even about. But my issue is that when you normalize corruption, it becomes so blatant that it's now normal. So this individual that's reporting, I am sure there are thousands of people that can testify that this is the process.
Yes.
And then when he now did the estimations, looking at the sheer amount of people in the crowds and talking about how many people are going there on a daily basis, and you now begin to calculate that you're having weddings 4 days a week, you're not even taking into consideration the special fees that you have to pay if you want your wedding done on a Monday or Tuesday. The total estimated amount that he just did from his own raw-based calculation was getting close to 400 million naira a year.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
So, Waji, the big
Imagine
question,
that.
when you have such a, like you've described it, very thorough investigation, and in other parts of the world, the reason why you have investigative journalists is so that they expose certain things, then actions are taken. The big question is what happens now? So we have this big expose.
Yeah.
Is there going to be? Are we going to get a report from the Minister of Interior?
Yes, you
Alpha
are.
Aregbesola?
Oh, there's a standard playbook for this.
We do reports plenty.
Plenty.
And then
and then it's reverted.
what's going to happen?
No,
gather
but
dust.
we will tell you what's going to happen. The minister is going to come out. There's going to be the permanent secretary is going to come out. There's going to be some very, very strong, sharp words that are going to be used to condemn such practices. There's going to be declaration of
No stone shall be left
investigations.
unturned.
They're going to have people going to go there. They're going to take pictures of them surveying, and it will happen for a time. And then what will now happen is that these individuals, because it's been normalized, will continue to find ways to bypass. For me, until individuals start going to jail, there is prosecution and people are locked up, nothing's going to change.
Remember
so
the-
I just want to land on this point. So in as much as the ministry may have the best intentions to get rid of this, it is the root of the problem that we're not focusing on. The root of the problem is the people. Until those people are outed, arrested, and locked up, nothing's going to change because it's
ministry doesn't
about
have the best
it's
intentions,
about
yeah.
behaviors. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's about behaviors.
Yes.
It's about how do you now correct behaviors. You can put all the systems in place, but until you change behaviors, nothing's going to change.
Remember the
Thank you.
2018 controversy where the Lagos High Court had to rule that marriages conducted and registered in local councils are
Yeah,
also
that was all rubbish. I mean, how
Like
do you
you've
now?
said, a number of people
How do you
are
legislate that?
testifying on our WhatsApp. Randolph says he went there 50K.
There you go.
We have this is from Jonathan said he went 100,000 naira last year he spent, and that was at Shomolu local government area.
No, Ikoyi is literally Beverly
It's
Hills.
prolific.
It is not only is it prolific, it is prime, and they take it to the max. I mean, in some cases, these guys now bring in like dance troops. They bring in like
Dude, it's like going to
bands.
Vegas.
They bring in
They bring
a
Ati-Logo
DJ.
dancers.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yes, I drove by there.
The Ati logo.
I've seen it,
everyone take my voucher.
and my point is that
It
these
was missing at my wedding.
No, you can hire them now.
no, it's out of this world. What happens at Ikoyi Registry? They've gone nuclear.
No, you know
Okay.
I married a Yoruba girl, so we had to do the whole
Nah,
Yoruba
this you have to.
thing.
No, you
I had
probably
to
need to
prostrate, all
reprise
that
that.
kind of
with
stuff.
the
Listen,
one there
So-
completely.
so-
Cheta,
no,
I
it's,
just-
want to
just
do proper Ati logo
for
dancers.
giggles, I just drive
No,
by
this is
there.
not for giggles.
Drive by there today and just spend 30 minutes. You'll be amazed.
Cheta, while you're reveling in that, do you know that mannequins have been outlawed in Kano? The government said that it goes against the Islamic the teachings of Islam. This was revealed by the head of Hizbah, Harun Ibn Sina. He announced the developments in a statement on Wednesday.
Yes. So the funny thing about it, I don't know if to call it a feel-good story because there are serious implications. Harun Ibn Sina said something along the lines of that looking at mannequins makes people to partake in immoral acts.
Mannequins.
Okay. His exact words. I'm trying to find the exact quotes. So I'm just reading through the story to try and get the exact quote so that I won't be accused of.
So he said,
He
can I
said
help you here?
the use of mannequins is responsible for immoral thoughts among the public. That's what Sheikh Harun Ibn Shino actually said. First things first, I have been to Dubai, I have been to Abu Dhabi, I have been to Doha, and I've been to Istanbul. These are all Muslim countries. As in, we're not even talking of predominantly Muslim. They are Muslim countries, period. In all of them, with the exception of Istanbul, which I last went to when I was a bachelor, in all of them, my wife has dragged me shopping. You know what they do.
Yeah, we just pay
And
bills.
in
Yeah.
all of those shoppings, I have seen mannequins. As a matter of fact, I am I okay. Let me not put you people in trouble.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, on my social media this morning, across all platforms, I put pictures of mannequins in these countries. So Sheikh Ibn Shino is not quite as it, and the problem is that people like Sheikh Ibn Shino do not have self-control. So what is happening is that they are projecting their own lack of. They just see the female form and they go all woozy. I mean, the language I would like to use cannot be used on breakfast radio. So they go all woozy. They cannot control themselves. So they are projecting that on other people, and because they've been given small power, they want to use that power to oppress, to push. I can assure you that I can assure you. I mean, was it not the same Kanu Hisba fairly recently that they caught one of their guys having an extramarital affair in which he was doing all sorts of deviant stuff with with the woman? It's the same Kanu Hisba. Bottom line is that these guys are deviants who now have power to listen. Now the question, where it gets serious is, it's a worldview issue, and we need to have a serious conversation about this in this country. Do I want to share a country, a unitary state, with people who are trying to impose their worldview on me who doesn't share their values? The answer is no. Basically, I am happy to share a country if we can sit down and agree that in your own place, do your thing, and don't share, for example, tax revenues from me that likes to drink my beer.
All right.
We have to have that conversation. It's a serious conversation, and we have been avoiding it for too long. It is, you cannot be using tax revenues from the sales of alcohol, from the sales of condoms and all of that to fund people like this.
Because like
it's
they say,
that simple.
like they say in Pidgin, Cheta said, "Na clap, you enter dance." They can start with these things, and before you know, it now develops into some other things that if they can achieve success on this level, they say, "Oh, we were able to institute this law based on our beliefs in Kano State. How about we try it in Benue? How about we try it in Abuja? How about you get?"
Right, what to me, going back to the Ikoyi story, says the amount of racketeering and extortion going on in Ikoyi registry is on monumental levels and goes far deeper than we understand. We were charged 36,000 naira and got a receipt for 21,000 from the Ministry of Interior. The fees and levies we paid were in the region of 100,000. It's literally broad daylight robbery. A few other people have come up with stories, but let's go to this Kano Isba story. Tayo from Aja said it's like Kano is practicing Islam more than certain countries, Elias Sena claims. Also, this has already been reported by international news agencies. Morning Guy says, Orisha, this mannequin story puts Nigeria in a bad perspective internationally. These same guys would go to Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar and go buy dresses on mannequins. Don't they have self-control? Maybe they should ban cows, dogs. And
That
other
same
animals
guy
for mating.
will go to Hotel Moscow in Dubai to hire Russian girls. That same guy, I can guarantee.
You can't guarantee that. You can just
Let us put a
propose
bug
that.
on him.
We can't put a bug on him.
As we said,
But-
we caught his
Except
neighbor
it is
the other day.
facts, Cheta.
Ah.
We can just make
No, I'm very
assumptions.
annoyed.
All right, let's move on to the next story from the Guardian newspaper. Waji, Nigeria ready for health emergency? Is Nigeria ready? I would ask that as a question, really. Because Dr. Lorinimbe Mamora, Minister of State for Health, gave the assurance on Thursday during this webinar organized by the Conversation Africa. Are we ready?
Is anybody ready? Val, that's the real question. And I think the article is skewing more to the fact that we need to learn a lot of lessons from this pandemic. I think part of the problem was Ebola was such an interesting success story that we actually got success syndrome from it. That we just felt that since we were able to combat it, that we were now ready, that we could apply the same playbook that we had for Ebola with this particular pandemic. And I think that's where the confusion came in. Because you cannot now specify a virus response to now be the general response you're going to have for a pandemic. They're two very different things. So I think what we did post Ebola was set up an Ebola response team and not necessarily a pandemic response team that has different levels of classifications with regards to the processes that you have to follow. So I think the fallout of what is being said here is that Nigeria needs to get ready in the sense of making sure that we get a lot of lessons from COVID and understand, because what this pandemic came in and why there has to be lessons from it specifically is because of the lockdown that came. That's where the main issue was, because the lockdown actually caused a lot more issues than the actual pandemic itself. So it's just learning from it, taking the lessons, and then instituting. There needs to be like a pandemic response team
Yes.
that is constantly funded, well staffed, and well manned. That now look. The predictions are that we're going to have one every 5 years. It may not be as severe as COVID. It might be more severe than COVID. Who knows? But at least ensure that you're monitoring the trends, especially from the regions of the world where these pandemics arise from, and then be able to have systems in place to now ensure that you adequately respond based on your environmental situation.
Similar to how they
I want to
monitor
land.
weather.
Yeah, you can't now just say, oh, because the Americans and the Europeans did X, Y, Z, we can equally do the same, which is
Well,
what we
do
did.
that all the time.
Yeah, and it got us to the point of NSARS. Okay? I'm sorry. Let's just call a spade a spade. So we need to now rethink how we respond in an appropriate manner based on our environment.
I like that. I like just allow that sink in.
No, but it's true.
Based on our environment, because we copy it, we'd rather compare a
We
lot.
don't do any research ourselves.
Yeah, we
so,
don't, because
I mean,
you can directly link the decisions of locking down Nigeria to what happened with NSARS. There is a direct correlation.
And it's also important to emphasize and re-emphasize the fact that copying does not necessarily mean that you separate the policies that you're copying from the
You just have to make
unique
it.
situations
You have
that
to make
exist.
it make sense to your
we are
environment.
working on the assumption that these people can think.
They can.
Yes,
Jetta,
they can. It's just that their interest is very different from your interest.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of health, let's also look at this worrisome allusion, or rather statements by the European Union saying that they refuse to accept the AstraZeneca vaccine manufactured in India, which, by the way, we are taking in Nigeria.
That's the only one that's landed here. So that's. the
I
only
beg you,
one.
I've taken my full doses.
So
But
apparently,
you cannot
it doesn't
fly
matter.
certain
Your full
parts of
dose is
Europe.
like no dose to them because you can't fly to Europe.
All right, so let me just chip
I'm
in.
not
and-
in a hurry to go to Europe.
Waji, please.
Let me just chip in, and I think this, and you have to forgive me because as a Pan-Africanist, I always have issues when Europeans come and start dictating certain things to Africans. So I'm the worst person to analyze
we are
this.
beggars.
I'm the worst person to
I
analyze
think
this.
you're
That's
the best person.
think
to
so.
that's
analyze
number one. So you
actually.
see, for me, when people talk about institutional racism, they think it has to do with prejudice or denying people rights. No, this is a perfect definition of what institutional racism is. I have said it and I'll say it again that when this whole vaccine thing came out, I made it absolutely clear why I was not going to take it. Because when I began to see that it was more policy focused and not people focused and more profit based than actually saving lives, then I said, you know what, I'm going to take a step back. Because whenever you now begin to have these kind of thinkings behind vaccinations to save people's lives, then there's something wrong. And this is a classic example. How dare you politicize vaccinations? How dare you? And the fact that they can do this with the blatant and wanton irresponsibility is an indication that we should not be doing business with these people. But that is just my perspective, and I'll leave it there.
And they're saying that the ones that they accept, they said they only recognizes AstraZeneca doses branded Vaxzevria, made by EMA approved manufacturers in Europe, United States, South Korea,
And it's the same
China.
blood. It's the same vaccine.
Thank you so much for checking
Just
us out.
It's the same
manufactured in two
vaccine.
different
In the
locations.
Location.
in the end, the problem from my point of view is the fact that we're poor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
That's it.
yeah, that's it.
Beggars
That's
can't
it.
be choosy.
Exactly.
And guess what?
But you can
Waji,
stand on your pride.
That's what you said about us not doing
Please.
business with them. Which pride are we standing on? If people are
At the
dying. We
see,
don't have-
at the slightest headache, our president will enter plane and go to their country to go
Well,
and
and
take
that
care of
and that is part of the problem.
And when we're now one of the 51 countries that got lost how many billion? $4 billion.
Yeah, from the
WHO.
World Bank.
You see.
And we never saw that money.
Beggars.
I just want you. I know we're out of time, but I really want you to, because people have also asked about that, to talk. Just touch on the petroleum industry bill, Cheta. Senate passes PIB, approves 3% for host communities. It's the 3% that has come up in a number of times in the news. So please say for free.
No, it's not even the 3%. I mean, Valentine, shift more. Let me be looking at your producer, because I think that it would have been better if the producer had picked the story from the Sun. They had a more comprehensive report on it.
Okay.
And they went with the headline Petroleum Industry Bill, Northern Senators Win. Because back in 2017, there was actually it split along regional lines. And yesterday, there was actually a quarrel by South senators about this, but the Senate president overruled them. I think that's important to put, because in 2017, the Saraki-led National Assembly passed what, in my opinion, is a more comprehensive PIB, but President Buhari declined to assent to it. Now, this 5%, this 3% for host communities is less than what the South has demanded, but and it wasn't reported by the Punch, but inside that bill that was passed yesterday, there was 10% approved for frontier states. What are frontier states?
Exactly.
So we are going to have problems with this PIB going forward. Probably Niger Delta Avengers will enter creeks again. I don't know.
So
we will
despite
have
the
problems.
fact that the Senate president has said that it's a win for this assembly, for the Ninth Assembly, and that
it's not a win. But
true.
key thing, I think, and this is something we should keep in mind, is this is too little, too late. The train has left the station. Oil is on the way out. Whatever. I mean, multinationals have been divesting away from Nigeria for a long time now. So this is too little, too late. Sorry to bust to pee on people's parade, but it's what it is.
Thank you, Cheta, for that. Thank you, Waji. Thank you. Waji is at the corporate MC, the only corporate with a K. So follow him on all social media platforms. Cheta is Checkstar, CHXTA. And thank you, Ayomaro Esse.
Thank you, Valentine.
Stay with us. We have a Feel Good Friday conversation coming up in 8 minutes.
Union Bank, your simpler, smarter bank.
Producer.
It's undeniable that times are